Alright, go on. It's the best.
I'm going to edit all that.
Welcome to the Best Friend Podcast, episode.
Hold up.
Who knows?
Best Friend Weekend. Can we call it Best Friend Weekend? Can we call it what it's actually called? I knew I was
It's
supposed
called
to do
Best
the
Friend
intro.
Weekend.
Come on, man.
Welcome to the
How
Best
we gonna
Friend
get Brandon
Weekend
together?
Podcast. Yeah, I know, my bad. God, they don't even know the name. Hey, welcome to the Best Friend Weekend Podcast, episode 4 for y'all. We got a real interesting thing. I'm the homie Raj Smooth, sitting in with me every single time. Every
sitting in with you
single time. Just tonight, that's all.
Although nice.
There you go. Oh, man. You know, most of the time Al leads this thing, so I'm going to go ahead and let him out. I'm going to go ahead and let him lead. I like that.
I mean, I felt like you just kind of like, you did the Kyrie thing. Like, I gave you the rock, and I kind of got out the way. And I mean, you know.
What did I do?
I mean, it was successful. It was a successful start to a podcast. I mean, it don't always have to be the ball in my hands. I mean, I'm not saying I'm LeBron. Some people say that. Some people say I'm the LeBron of podcasting. I don't say that. I just leave that for them to say. So that's like not a thing that I say. You know?
I've never got a reference to an NBA basketball player of podcasting. I gotta find my guy.
Well, we're gonna talk a little bit about the NBA today. I mean, there's no way around that since the finals are set, and I guess we got to talk a little bit about Cavs Warriors. I mean, it's not on the list of things to talk about, but why not talk about that? But before I had some crazy stuff happen to me at work this week, and I wanted to vent on it, and it's been sitting on my head all week to chop it up about, and I wanted to get your opinion. Like, full disclosure, Roger hasn't even heard this story, so it's like when I throw this thing out here, I'm gonna get your unbridled, your unedited opinion, I'm assuming. So let me set the stage, man. I'm at this conference with a bunch of bigwigs, people who make huge decisions on education in the state of Texas. And, I'm doing my thing. I'm over there at this conference, and it's like 40 people or so at the conference. It's only, I'm the only African-American. I'm the only black person. Only black person there, right? Only black man, only black woman, only black person there.
The only African-American or black person?
I prefer the term African. I prefer the term black, honestly, if we're going back and forth. Yeah, I don't have that much of an affinity. I mean, like that much of I don't know, man. We did Kwanzaa when I was a kid, so I guess I am on my African heritage thing. But
you legitimately did like Kwanzaa in your house?
Yeah. Emotion, Kuji Chakali. You didn't know I got a tat on my chest that says unity and faith for the first and last principles at Kwanzaa? I mean, it's like, it's real. It's real. Like Ron Karinga was like, it was real in my house. The Nagubu Saba, the whole 9. We did all that. Anyway, that's not the point.
We didn't.
Y'all didn't do Kwanzaa. That's strange. I wouldn't have guessed it. I thought your mom would have did Kwanzaa. Your mom's very pro-black too.
We didn't do Kwanzaa though. She's not pro-Kwanzaa. Pro-Christmas.
Well, we did both. We didn't just not do Christmas. What are you talking about right now? Anyway.
I don't know. Let me hear this. I'm past Kwanzaa. I learned about that for like 1 week.
So the point is, I'm the only black American at this conference. And
so is that black
we're doing some
non-American?
Stuff. So this is the whole point about the whole black and African American point. Like one of my mentors in this education game is a lady from South Africa, and she's a white lady, but she's an African American. So I feel like she knows more about Africans than me because she's an African American and I'm a black American because I have the black American experience.
I've never thought about that before. I've never thought about, and there's a lot of white people in South Africa. I've never thought about them being African Americans.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she identifies herself as an African American on like standardized testing or anything, but I would think that she's more of an African American by name than I am. Like if you say someone is a German American, that means they're from Germany, right? African American means you're from the continent of Africa, right? Like I guess my heritage is from there, definitely. But I would be a black American. I have that black American experience that come up through from slavery to civil rights to now. So I feel more that the term black American encompasses a little bit more of who I see myself as. But that's an aside. So I'm at this conference, right? We're making clay or doing some stuff, and we're learning how to do these projects for these kids. And they're showing us some different ideas as far as some things we can run with different kids in and around the state of Texas. And the group next to me is doing a project too, and they're making these ships out of like some little boats and seeing if they could float out of like cardboard and foil paper, right? Fall paper. So our group's finished and we're having a discussion about our activity. And their group's finished and they're having a discussion about their activity. So it's about 10 of them and about 10 of us, and we're talking about what we're talking about. I'm sitting there, it's Friday, I'm chilling, whatever. And all of a sudden, they're trying to see if their boats are going to sink or float. And they're putting stuff in them to see if they can handle the load. And they're putting marbles in them. And the guys, like somebody in the group says, why are all of your marbles all on top of each other like that? Why are they all falling to one side? And the guy says, because my ship is a slave ship. And they all start laughing, and it's funny. And then this woman in the group's like, I don't get it. What do you mean it's like a slave ship? And dude says, oh, because they're all stacked on top of each other. The marbles, they're stacked like people on top of each other. You know, in a slave ship, how they're all stacked on top of each other.
Did they see you?
And they both just. And they both.
Did they know you were in the room?
Like they knew I was. They probably knew I was in the room. Whatever. They all just bust out laughing. Like they cracking up. Now, in my opinion, they all were laughing. It was about 10 people in the group. It might not have been all of them. But it was such an audible roar from that side of the room. And the person who was facilitating the section didn't say anything. They didn't say, hey, whoa, it's little, hey, whoa. They just let it go like to this big joke. When they said it, I was at a moment, man. I had a moment. It was like in that moment in time, I could go one of 3 or 10 different directions right there. And what I did, well, I'm not going to tell you what I did. I'm not even going to tell you what I did or what I said. I'm going to ask you what you would have done or what you would have said. I'm just curious.
I would have probably leaned over to the person next to me and said, that's fucked up. And then that's it. Because I think it's fucked up that they did that. But I know that I'm in a professional setting. And I know that in that professional setting, if I decide to go a certain direction, it could be perceived that I'm causing a scene. And I don't want that to happen. So if I had an issue with a coworker of mine, offending me, then I'm going to pull that coworker off to the side later on. So that one, I don't make an ass of myself around all of these people that obviously are not sensitive to, something as serious as slavery. Cause it's a real thing. Like, I mean, it's something like, as history goes on, it tends to just kind of everything. Like you start to forget about how bad it was for us, you know? Like I read this one tweet and it was like, let's say the name of the Twitter was like @did you know? And it was, did you know that 100 million people, like, you know, Africans lived as slaves, or were born as slaves, lived as slaves, and died as slaves. 100 million. So, like, you forget how bad it was for us. And for him to say something like that is super insensitive. And it's something that I'm going to have a word with him about. But I'm not going to make a scene in the front of a large class or a medium-sized class. I'm just not going to do that.
And I think that's it. I think it's interesting that sometimes people look at me and you as like having kind of polarizing opinions or very different opinions on different things. How I handled the situation was I turned over my shoulder and I looked at the people. I pulled out my phone and I just disengaged for the rest of the time. Like I just didn't pay attention. I was so flustered in the moment. I didn't even respond. I didn't tell anybody anything. I didn't say anything. I just felt
ideally, bad. And you know what? Ideally, like, you know, and that's what I hopefully don't sound offensive or anything like that, but I call that self-implosion. And I don't want to self-implode either. I don't want to explode, but I don't want to implode. Ideally, what I would like to do is make an example out of him if I can. And you know that sometimes I can be a witty person. I would love to be able to have my presentation have an example where I can say something like blah blah blah, or I can make a very insensitive racist joke like X. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where
to
I don't
flip the
sound like
tables.
right, where I don't sound like an ass. Like I'm not sounding like I'm just trying to cause a scene. And of course, what would they say? Oh, you know I didn't mean it like that.
Exactly.
And then I look like the bad guy. No.
Well,
how about I make you look like the ass with a bit of sarcasm?
Okay, so what ended up happening was I just kind of chilled back, and lunch came a little later, and one of my coworkers walked into the room, and she was like, "Hey, how was the morning?" And I was like, now that you're asking me that, some real fucked up shit happened this morning, and I said it audibly loud, like to where people were like, "Oh, what's going on? Why's Alan mad?" And I was like, and I started to proceed to tell her the story. And she was like, "Oh my God, which person?" And they were all like kind of on some which person. And they were all like trying to point the finger and see like who was it who said it and whatever. And I was like, I wasn't really that comfortable with the role of being like the little snitch at that point. So I just kind of started kind of not wanting to tell too much of the story. In retrospect, I wasn't composed enough in the moment to respond. And I did the self-implosion thing that you just referred to. That's exactly what I did. Had I have had my head together, I would have just stopped when he said it, and I would have kind of stood up maybe and turned to their group and said, "I don't see why that's all that funny." And then he would have probably tried to start explaining. I'd be like, "No, you don't have to explain. I just don't see why it's all that funny. I don't think slavery is that funny." And I would have turned back around to my group and did what I had to do. And I think that would have been the precisely right way to handle it. Because I think he would have had to explain what he said to other people and try to minimize what it meant and turned it on him. But it was kind of like a part of me was like, did I really hear that? Where I didn't want to like hop off the rails because I was like, did I really even hear that? Because it's when you hear wild shit, sometimes you don't even really realize, like, it's like, damn, you really just said that? Like, and I couldn't calculate it all in my head, all of that quickly. Where it took me a while to kind of get it. But then when I had that opportunity where the kind of meeting ended and I could have went and had words with him, the guy had hauled ass. He left like 10 minutes later and was gone. So
let me tell you this. Here's a quote that a wise man once told me. You don't do things for the glory. You do it out of the kindness of your heart. And most of the time, that's how I feel about certain situations. In this situation, 100%, I'm gonna tell you why and how I would do it for the glory and how it would never happen. If I knew 100% that if me standing up and saying something to this guy about the situation, and I knew for a fact that would have got me in a future social studies book on like a new civil rights. Then I would have said something, and I would have been doing it for the glory because, I would have been Rosa Parks. I'm sure a bunch of people, like, you've seen Barbershop. I would have sat I'm sure they got a lot of people that sat in the front of the bus. You know what I'm saying? She just was the one that gets in the social studies book. And so that now I'm a civil rights leader, and I can do some stuff. I could be on CNN and Fox News and whatnot. Yeah, great. But my life goes on, and I know that me saying something is not necessarily going to make a difference. It might make a difference for the rest of the day in that classroom, or maybe even for future class sessions. But whenever that guy gets home, the types of jokes that he makes are not going to change. Because I know for sure if I said something, because I say some real messed up stuff sometimes about certain individuals in certain demographics. If I said something in public, that was demeaning to a certain demographic, and someone said something about it, I would be aware of it. Like, he would make me aware of it. But I know a year would pass or so, some time would pass, and I would be right back making the same types of jokes. I'm not making a difference. So it's not even worth it to me to even address it. Unless the guy was like, if we go back to our discussion that we had a few podcasts ago about Reggie and the situation where his friend, unless the guy was one of my friends and I actually cared about him hurting my feelings in some sort of way, that's the only way that I feel like I would address it. Otherwise, I would have addressed it with someone in the classroom that I trusted. And that's it. Just like, man, didn't you, like, was that not kind of messed up? Because I thought it was messed up. All right, cool. Just making sure that I'm not tripping.
Okay, I want to say that I disagree, and I feel like that person needs to be held accountable and needs to be kind of put on notice that what they do is wrong. But at the same time, how can I even say that when in reality I didn't hold them accountable because I didn't say anything? So like in retrospect, I'm not even living up to the standards that I'm saying people should. And that's interesting. So I've told a few people about this. Go ahead.
What form of accountability do you think he should be held up to? Like, what should he be?
He should understand that it's well, no, I'm not on it. I'm not on the, like, let's not twist this. I'm not trying to be like, Colin Cowherd needs to be fired from ESPN for saying this culturally insensitive thing. So I don't give a damn about this guy's job. Fuck him. He made a culturally insensitive joke. He's from somewhere in the middle of Texas somewhere, probably where they don't even have a lot of black people, and it's probably very acceptable where he is and whatever else. I just want to let him know that chill. Like, just chill. You know, like, that's not funny. And I need you to understand that that's not funny. And maybe some of my black privilege can come out when I can kind of flex on him a little bit when I say it, to let him know that you probably want to chill. And I might give you that glare that says you might want to chill for real. And I think he needs to understand that you're not supposed to do that. And you're not going to get away with that in every setting. But I guess a different thing that I'm saying is I've told a couple of people about this story. Different various races. I talked to this Cuban girl about it. I was talking to a few of my coworkers about it, like just different people that I know from different nationalities, right? And everybody to a man is kind of like, that's wrong, that's so wrong, that's so wrong. And then I flipped the question on him. I said, had you been there instead of me, what would you have done? And I think that's an interesting talk for people who aren't the black Americans in the room. And like my supervisor at work was sitting there basically telling me that, hey, if she was there, she would have told him something because she would have stuck up for me and defended me. And I'm like, I'm not asking you what you would have did if me and you were in the room. I'm asking you what you would have did if I wasn't in the room. And there was no black people in the room, but we cracking on black people and we cracking on slavery like it's just a joke. What do you say when it's not directly impacting you? And the answer, it was crickets. It was crickets. Well,
let me ask you this: what would you have said if I would have made the joke?
Well, you got cultural, you got cultural cachet, you got cultural ability to be able to make jokes about whatever the hell that has happened to black people in the 400 plus years since we hopped on those first boats. As a black person, you can make jokes about black people.
So it would have been
we
funny.
Can have internal jokes. I don't know if that's a funny joke. And
no,
you know what? That's not a funny. You know what? This podcast is brought to you by shit that ain't really that funny. And shit that really ain't funny is slaves stacked up on top of each other in the bottom of a fucking hull of a slave ship. That shit's not funny.
But I'll tell you this: if
you can't spin that shit to make it funny.
Our favorite comedian is right now, is I would say mutually, is Gerard Carmichael. This podcast is brought to you by Gerard Carmichael. If Gerard Carmichael somehow finds a way to make a slave joke funny, I'm gonna laugh. And I've definitely heard. Let's go back to this. This podcast brought to you by Comic View. How many nights a week did you watch Comic View when you were young?
Coming at you 6 nights a week, get your laugh on. Hey, when you want to get your laugh on, baby. I don't know, probably about 6 nights a week.
About 6 nights a week, 6 or 7. Like, yeah, real talk. I've definitely seen or heard some slavery jokes on Comic View, and I've laughed.
Roger.
And it's not funny because it's a joke.
Some slave jokes can be done in a way that are funny if you talk about certain aspects of slavery times, like Dave Chappelle with the time haters going back and shooting master and wilding and stuff. I mean, there are things that you can talk about, but I just think that there are certain things that are just going to be in poor taste anyway. the conditions of the hull of a slave ship, I just can't see that. I mean, I get where you're going with this. That somebody could maybe flip that to make it funny to where we would sit up and laugh about it because it's funny. I guess it's possible. I'm not gonna say that it's not possible, but I bet Andrew Dice Clay can't make that joke. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe Gerard Carmichael could, maybe Dave Chappelle could, and we'll laugh. But the white dude who was sitting at my conference last week can't make that joke, and we're gonna laugh. It's not funny. Not funny, buddy. Double standard. Why can't I make that joke? This is the same question we was asking in that podcast before. Why can't I say nigga?
I'm only playing devil's advocate because I agree with you. But what if he just donated $1 million to the United Negro College Fund?
I don't know anybody who's a Negro like in life. Okay,
but this is a real fund. If it's a real fund, he just that morning he sent.
Go ahead.
The United Negro College Fund just set up a GoFundMe, and he sent $1 million to the United Negro College Fund GoFundMe.
Okay, and I will let him say that joke if he donated. How many millions? $1 fillion?
$1 fillion.
Okay, he's donated $1 fillion with an F to the United Negro College Fund. He would have also had to donate a kidney and his left nut, and then I would let him say that joke.
Okay, fair
enough.
Yeah, sure. What if it was his right nut? I mean, there's a whole bunch of questions that I can ask you about what if, you know? I'm just saying, I've heard, granted, yes, seriously, slavery is not funny at all.
Now here we go. I hate you. Because right now I started this podcast, and the whole first 15 minutes or so, we were having an intelligible conversation about what do you do in workplace things. I was trying to pivot it to a conversation of what do you do when it's not really about you. And I thought you were going to say something about what if they made a joke about gay people and you're not gay? So would you stick up for gays? I thought you were going to go there, but instead you're about to try to make me laugh at slavery stuff. And I just don't want to laugh at slavery stuff. But I know it doesn't even have to be Gerard Carmichael. It could be you. And you could say something funny that I would laugh about slavery stuff. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to be that guy.
All right. I understand. I'm getting away from the point of the question. I understand because if I was in this situation, it would have made me feel uneasy also. So I get where you're coming from. How to handle workplace racism, in my opinion, you handle it on the back end. If it's bad enough, and yeah, granted, I'll never go to HR. I'm just not that guy.
Yeah, I don't want to get anybody get fired over some words because I don't know. I probably say some stuff I ain't got no business saying around too. You have to really be coming at me directly.
That's how I would come at him if he said something. I'm not going to HR. I'm 100% gonna just hey, hey, look, I really didn't like that. Just I don't know how to. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what to say, but that made me uncomfortable. That's all I wanted to let you know. Hopefully we can move past this.
With your crackhead. Right?
You see?
No?
You see?
That's not how I ended.
It's not nice to say on the podcast.
That's not how I ended?
No, it's not how you ended.
But you came at me that's not how you respond
in kind. Not how you respond. One, that's not really that offensive. And two,
yeah, it really ain't.
And two, you're just looking for it. You're trying to fight.
Speaking of words that are offensive, like you say, the N-word, we've already hopped on it that black people get offended. It turns us into things that we aren't. So I get that. Soldier. So what are the words that turn white people into? Because it's not cracker, they don't care. But so I don't really know those words, and I guess I'm not really searching for them. But I think and I want to know what it is. But I think something that I've heard a black person referred to before that I thought was so bad. They call this dude dirty black trash one day. I mean, if you call a white person dirty white trash, I mean maybe they don't think it's offensive. But if somebody called me dirty black trash, I would fucking hate them. That's
almost better. That's almost worse than the N-word. I'll tell you a word that makes white people mad. You call a white woman a cunt for some reason. I have no idea. For some reason, that word that just triggers that. That's the Winter Soldier word for them.
That's the word.
That's the Winter Soldier word.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to file that away as things to not say. I mean, it's not in my regular vocabulary anyway. I don't use it on a daily basis, so I don't think I'm gonna slip up and call anybody a cunt. But you know, let's just hope not. Let's hope not. Oh man. Okay. So anyway, I was at an education conference, and look, full disclosure, we're not talking all night tonight. We did talk about it, and we said that. You know, we'll hit y'all with the hour-long podcast when we got a lot to talk about. We ain't really got that much to talk about today. Now watch this goes an hour right after I say that. But we're gonna try to make this a little bit quicker today. So they got a whole bunch of teachers that I'm like, you know, I used to be a school teacher, like, and a lot of school teachers been posting stuff like recently, like, oh, school's out, what you gonna do with your kids? Parents, ha ha ha, we sending them back to you for 2 months. Blah 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 blah. This part of the year is kind of like, as a farmer teacher, I guess I'm resentful because I'm not about to just be off right now for the next 2 months or so. But I'm usually particularly annoyed nowadays when teachers are posting all these things about summertime. Particularly annoyed. I don't know if that, since you've never been a teacher, does that do anything to you? Do you like look at that as a member of just kind of another profession and say, teachers, shut up?
So to say that I've never been a teacher is false.
Yeah, you did do a little teaching. My apologies.
A little teaching. Anytime, this podcast is brought to you that anytime someone puts Lil in the front of whatever you did,
they're belittling you.
100% belittling whatever it is. Point in case, example. Look him in his little jacket.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a small jacket. It's a jacket that she doesn't like. So,
I see you with your little girlfriend.
So you know what? I think if I went from a profession like teaching, because I think teachers, and regardless, I'm not gonna get on every single thing that people say about teachers, cliche thing that teachers say, or that whatever. If I had a profession and I was teaching, and then I moved to another profession where I didn't get that full summer off, it would hurt me a little bit too. It would have to. It would definitely make me put it on It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday radio.
So I'm well within my means to okay. So this is the point that so I work with teachers though, but I'm not like a teacher right now. So I help teachers be better at what they do. And this is the part that kind of be ag for me a lot of times. It's kind of that whole teachers don't. I mean, look, put it like this: teachers have a very hard job because kids are insane and their parents like don't love them like they used to. Like when we was kids, like our parents used to like love us a lot. Their parents just be doing whatever. Like this new generation, this podcast is brought to you by parents who love their kids and really do the best by their kids. Shout out to you. You really out there. But a large percentage of parents just be out there like, whatever. Just whatever. So it's a tough job for teachers. But then they turn around this narrative that like teachers don't get paid enough and everything else. And even when I was a school teacher, I never felt like teachers didn't get paid enough. I felt like teachers got paid pretty much what they should be paid. Like, and that's a very unpopular opinion amongst like the education community. Teachers they could get paid more. But my thing is always just kind of like this. If a teacher's awesome, they deserve to get paid more. If a teacher is just like somebody who went to school for English or whatever, I'm not trying to throw anybody under this bus for going to school for English. But if somebody's not awesome at teaching, why should you get like more money each year? Like the median salary for teachers. Like I know in the district I used to teach in, they started like $52,000 a year. And that's with 2 months off. And with a week off for Christmas and a week off. Regular jobs don't really get that. Like talking about, they get a lot of time off to raise families and do all kind of other stuff. So I just don't feel like teachers are that much underpaid. The ones who are dope at their job and put in a lot of extra hours, I think they are underpaid. But the overwhelming majority really aren't. And that summertime thing, I think it's just maybe I'm venting because it just grind my gears that they about to have these months off for the summer and just be chilling. And I'm gonna be working.
But you know how we talked about self-imploding, and then we find key words to kind of like identify our feelings and our emotions. And I'm gonna say this again. I don't want to offend you, but that's what you call That's what you call hating.
That's
That's what you call hating. You should be happy for the teachers, for your fellow teachers and your former fellow teachers that they get some time
they
off
listen
from
to
these
this
crazy
anyway.
ass
They
children.
too busy partying because school's out big. I'm out here getting it in. They're not listening to this podcast.
And what were you doing in the summer other than opting in for for summer school and football camps and whatnot? I get it, but there was I specifically remember a summer where you said, "I am taking the summer off so I could do me."
Honestly, I prefer when teachers take the summer off to do them. I kind of got mixed feelings on summer school now. I feel like summer school is the trap. I feel like they make teachers work them extra months and toss them a couple of extra dollars to work a few extra months when they should be getting that rest because kids are crazy. So I don't feel like teachers should do summer school. I should make somebody else do it. Just pay I don't know. But I get your point. It's a real thing. They all turning up and everything right now. They probably even not going to go to school next week because they're going to turn up in it's Memorial Day weekend. They're going to Vegas. They're going to Miami. What you think about, I've never done the big getaway from Memorial Day. I'm not I vacation, but I don't vacation with the rest of people because I've always heard that they tax black folks when you go to these black weekends. If you go to Cancun, woo, have fun. But if you go to black Cancun weekend, it's $75 for to get into senior frogs.
But that's everywhere, and I'm glad you already know that this is a hot button for me. Forget just going to black Cancun. Let's just go to the black club on Saturday night. There's a cover charge of $20. It gets late. It's an arbitrary cover charge of whatever the door dude wants to charge you. So I've been somewhere where it's it's after midnight, it's $60 to get in. I think that's ludicrous. I like to call them mixed club, but for the sake of the conversation, let's call them predominantly white club that I've been to has been free cover. I'm going to say 90% of predominantly
PWC.
White clubs I go to. Yeah. The PWCs are free cover, and that way I feel more comfortable about spending my ass at the bar.
Of course.
But if I have all my cash going to the door
and to parking,
right? I'm not as open to spending as much money at the bar. Especially, it makes me really, really upset to have to tip a bartender. So I don't understand it. I don't know what the divide is. I don't even understand how there's such a difference. Why? Because they're just as populated. I mean, have you ever seen in Lafayette when we'd go out? Do you remember how packed Bed and what's that other club? Korma. Those clubs used to be? The line would be twice as long as the line at City Bar.
And they still be hitting you up the side of the head for $40.
$20 at the door, for women and $40 at the door for men.
Okay, so I think my rationale in my head has always been that the person who owns the club isn't the promoter. So they probably if whomever is the quote unquote promoter that night, who the chicks think got some pull and is the guy who's his name is on the flyer. I feel like they're not getting paid off the bar at all, and they're probably having to pay the person to. And if they get paid off the bar, it might be 50-50 or something, and they're having to pay for the venue that night. So that's probably the only way that black club promoter is eating is off of the fee, the admission fee. So I think that's an extra level of why it happens that way. So that's why at maybe a PWC, it might not be a promoter per se. They might not have to even be a promoter.
No, I've never really seen
at City Bar
a white promoter. There's no such thing, and I don't understand.
So the people who own the bar, go ahead.
But what is the need? What's the need? What's the need for a promoter at a club at a black club that jumps every weekend? Hudson. Why does Hudson need a promoter?
Case in point, Hudson doesn't even jump right now. And I kind of tapped on that last time. We were talking a little bit about James Harden and stuff. Hudson is looming now because it's the promotion team. It's Live House Media. That's this podcast is brought to you by D Scott. Shout out D Scott. They move their team around every week. They're at Drink Houston, or they're at Clay, whatever it's called. They're at different places all the time. And they kind of bring the crowd with them. So, yeah, that's kind of why the promoter is necessary on the scene like that. But I can understand what you're saying. Like, in Lafayette, it was the same two clubs, and it really didn't. But, I mean, I guess if somebody...
In Denver, you and I went to Gin Mill twice, and it was bumping both nights, and there was no promoter. There was no cover charge.
Okay. I agree. But a Gin Mill is a PWC.
Why... What I don't feel, and granted, my party experience is a lot different than a lot of other people's, but I don't see the need for a club promoter. I don't see the need. I don't even understand how that's a real job.
Listen to what I'm saying. Hudson, nobody's at Hudson ever. It doesn't even open as far as I'm concerned right now. So whoever's the owner of Hudson is getting paid $0 on Saturday nights. Back when Live House was over there, they were getting the club bumping that night. And even if Live House was, I don't know what the arrangement they had with them. They might have had an arrangement where they were paying them for whatever, and they were taking all of the door and half of the bar. They were making some of that bar money and some of that other money. And for whatever reason, that relationship ended. But I think as a club owner, you want club promoters if your club doesn't pop. Like in Lafayette, I mean, if somebody wanted to open up another spot and tailor to a certain audience and get all of the black folks there, that club owner would probably be happy to say, hell yeah, we getting people in here, we selling drinks, we doing whatever. I'm a club owner. I got to get my club to pop. But have to be some...
You're missing my question.
Go ahead.
My question is, why is it only us? Why aren't there white club promoters? And there very well may be. And granted, no. There are.
I don't think. Yeah.
But what I'm asking is, City Bar, Nighttown, Gin Mill, Mile High Spirits, all of these places out here, they all jam. But for some reason, all of the black clubs got a promoter. They all got a flyer that's got and celebrating the birthdays of this. Like, what's up with? Why is it like that? Why is it so universally the same everywhere?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think that there's a cultural idea that we aren't going to buy drinks at the bar, so that's why they hit us up at the door. But I think, like I just said, I think it has something to do with the fact that the promoter's taking a cut of that. But yeah, I don't really know the same. But I mean, I wish, like, there are the black clubs now in Houston, in places that I've been to, that they have your walk-ins, you have your Prospect Parks, you have your Swaggers, you have your 50-15 and Faces, and different places that you can walk in without paying that $20 cover charge. You might still have to pay to park in some of those places, but they might not be a cover charge to go to some of these bars, and they're kind of respecting our ability to patronize the bar. But yeah, that's a very good question. I guess that's a question that I wouldn't know the answer to.
Here's another thing, and you may not agree with me because I think you've been to more black clubs than I have. But in my experience, I've noticed that the cover is higher and the cups at the bar are smaller. Have you not? I don't know about the cups. Is that not something? Have you not noticed that?
I ain't trying to get drunk, so I don't know nothing about the cups.
Well, me neither. But so you go to let's take City Bar for instance. City Bar literally has plastic. They give you them big
plastic cups. Yeah.
Big plastic cups. You go to Nighttown. Really, really big. You know, it's the clear plastic. It's not like City Bar where they have the like a souvenir cup. You go to Nighttown, a really big plastic clear solo cup. You go to the black club, they give you the little bitty cup with the small straw. And hold on. There's one more dynamic to this. They're measuring drinks. They don't just pour and say, okay, and eyeball it. Nope. They got the little metal funnel, and they're measuring shots.
We should definitely get a black club promoter on the podcast and talk to them about why they do the things they do. Because these are all interesting questions that you're asking me right now. I haven't really ever looked at the difference between the two, but it's definitely it's a huge difference, and it's exactly what you just said. When I go to Midtown in Houston, it's like they're liberally pouring drink,
right?
And when I go to the same black clubs, like you said, little black straw with a little crown glass,
with the
plastic crown glass,
an undersized cup. So yeah, I don't know.
These are questions that I'm curious about too. But hey, we do it to ourselves sometimes. Nah, I don't think this is one that we do to ourselves. I think it's just
here's what we need. We legit. You made a great point. We need to have an experienced black club promoter to come and explain the black club experience to us and why it is what it is and why did it evolve to be what it is today.
I think I know just the person. We're gonna look into that. We're gonna look into having this conversation. I know just the person. I'm gonna touch base on this really quickly because I want to touch base on two more things before we get out of here. Just two things. First thing was, and I might want to do a full pod on this, but whatever, we'll talk about it. So I didn't know who this rapper was, NBA young boy. You thought I was just joking when I texted you, like, hey,
I thought it was a typo.
NBA, yeah. NBA young.
I thought there was a guy in the NBA that was like taking over, and he was like really young.
So we just need to do a larger podcast on rap. Like on the first podcast, we were talking about different raps, and I said something about mumble rap, and the way I said it, people were like, I think that word mumble rap is kind of like, I think it's ass, just to kind of like label a whole genre of rap, mumble rap, because Future's like one of my favorite rappers, and I listen to everything Future and Migos, and I like that. So I don't look at it like as a bad, like mumble rap is a bad thing. I just think it's the newest iteration of what rap is now. So rap's all over the place. So this isn't really a new versus old rap conversation. The NBA YoungBoy thing got me thinking a couple of things. So I didn't know who this was either, but I saw a whole bunch of posts online of other rappers, Lil Bootsy and Meek Mill, and people were posting them. But then I also saw a couple of my young boys who live in like New Iberia and live in Baton Rouge, like posting it like, oh, my boy, like he coming out, man. It's over for you boys, So I had to research who it was. And I'm like, okay, he's the latest in a long line of these Lil Bootsy, Lil Webby, Kodak Black, I would say Hurricane Chris, but I don't think he really goes in that category either. But like those young sounding, young rappers who get out there and just be kind of talking that bang, bang, shoot 'em up, money, clothes, hoes, rap, from Louisiana or Louisiana sounding. And I listened to a song. He had a song called Gravity, and that thing it actually jammed because I grew up to like that type of music, right? You like that type of music. We like that type of music. But then I dove into like his social media and started trying to understand who the kid was. He's like 19. And I was like, man, should I be supporting this? Like at our age, should we be supporting little cats like this who just kind of, for lack of a better word, talk buffoonery? And I want to make sure I make this make sense what I'm saying. What I'm saying is 2 Chainz talks buffoonery. But 2 Chainz is an intelligent individual. When you listen to him in interviews and you go do his backstory and you whatever, he's just talking buffoonery to sell records. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with somebody talking buffoonery to sell records. I'm really just not okay with people who talk buffoonery and live buffoonery now. And I guess the bigger thing is he just came out of jail. And it's like this, is that what all Louisiana rappers do? Shit,
I gotta
drop
see
a
this.
couple tracks and go to jail. Go ahead,
I have to ask this question. I'm listening. Do I not get a target on my head? I've always wondered this. This is like probably the one like top 10 questions I've pondered in my lifetime. I'm listening to all of these rappers, talk about money, cars, clothes, hoes, and that's all cool. But drugs. I'm talking about drugs in my songs. I'm the snowman. I'm looking at the flick of the wrist. You know what I mean? And it's all drug related. And not to mention just that being drug related, but my music videos are even more drug related because it gives you a visual.
of me selling drugs.
How am I not putting a target on myself? Like how? I don't understand how more rappers don't just go to jail like easily. Like well, he's in jail because he just.
I actually heard one of the most interesting things, and I think you're gonna find this very interesting. Young Jeezy was talking about when he first got in a rap gang. He was in the studio, and T.I. came to the studio to rock with him. And it was the first time he met T.I. And T.I. looked to the corner and he had stacks of money in the corner of the studio, like stacks of cash. And T.I. and all these niggas was in there drinking, smoking, having a good time. T.I. was like, hey man, let me holler at you, and brought him outside. And he was like, man, you know you can't do both, right? And Jeezy was like, what you mean? He was like, you do both? He was like, nah, dog, I rap. He was like, I rap about that. I don't do that. Like, that's not what I do. I can't do that no more. Like, it's not, you can't do both. And Jeezy was like, man, that made him realize that he couldn't, like, continue to be, like, selling dope and rapping. He had to just be a rapper. So and I wonder how many of them don't realize that. What you say?
Doesn't move work? Rick Ross doesn't move work? Doesn't move work?
No, he doesn't. Yeah. Like, none of those people. None of the successful people move work. Let's just be, we know this. Like, Birdman got popped with the pound of dope, like a pound of weed some years ago. They probably all smoke weed. They probably all can have access to dope if they want. The very successful rappers do not be moving weight. I can't see it as being possible because, like you just said, they would have a target on their head, and there's nothing more than society would like than to go pop them and put them in jail.
But just think about how easy of an investment that is. I have all of this capital, and I can invest it. You know what I'm like? I mean,
yeah.
Is that not an easy investment? So for you to say that none of the big rappers do it, I don't know.
I mean,
I've seen. It's hard to get out of that game because it's such easy money.
Patrick Creighton, Jamal Lewis, all them boys tried to move birds with the NBA. I mean, NFL money. I get what you're saying. I just think, like you said, I think the target is so huge that they would have got popped a long time ago because somebody's watching them. Like they're trying to get them. I just kind of feel like those young little rappers, like the ones I mentioned, who are constantly in jail. Like Kodak Black is probably back in jail right now. Kevin Gates is in jail right now. Kevin Gates is a little different story. I actually think he's a buffoon, but he's intelligent enough of a buffoon for me to like. I like his music, and I kind of got a different opinion.
Okay, so you can't put Kevin Gates in with Kodak Black and Lil Uzi Vert and dare I say Future. But let me tell you about all of those people.
No, don't you dare say Future. Go ahead.
Future's the best. Like I remember listening. Let me tell you something. This is hilarious. It's not hilarious, but this is eye opening. Drake and Future made a CD called "What a Time to Be Alive," right? Yeah. And I remember back in the day, whenever it came out. It's not real back in the day, but when it came out, I remember there's a few songs that's like just Future. And then there's some Future verses. And I remember like, oh man, like I can't wait to get to the Drake verse. Like I want to listen to the song that's just Drake. The song that's just Future, whatever. And I remember, and times passed. And just the other day, I'm riding in the car and I'm listening to What a Time to Be Alive. And I'm enjoying the Future verses. And I'm enjoying the songs that are just Future. Because times have changed to me.
Yeah.
Let me transition. So all I'm saying is Future is a mumble rapper. He is the beginning of the mumble rap. He's the Snoop Dogg. He's like the beginning of the mumble rappers. Now we done got to Lil Uzi Vert and Kodak Black and Playboy Carti. And I have to say, I agree with you about them rapping buffoonery and living buffoonery. It's stupid. But these dudes are making some fun music, and it's fun to listen to.
Okay, so Roger. I think it took us a while to get back to the point that I was making, and that's the point. My point is, should we support it? My point is, I listened to Lil Big Pop, that Kodak album, a lot. That thing was on constant rotation. I think Kodak Black, like I said, is that long line. Like I always used to tell people that people from Louisiana, we like our rappers to sound like little boys and to be young. Like Lil Wayne's, the Lil Turks, the Kodak Blacks, Lil Boosie. All of them. We like it's going down where I roam in that SSB. I remember Boosie's first stuff because it was like, man, that's that little youngster. Like so the NBA young boy, even though I didn't know who he was, once I heard his music, I understood real quick. I'm like, oh, he's just the next one. And that's what we like to listen to in Louisiana. We've always liked to listen to that. But when we have an interview with this person, when I was young, I guess I looked at myself and I said, oh, I could see how I'm like Lil Boosie, how we all like some little young Louisiana cats out here, blah, blah, blah. And I got it. I'm so far removed from that now that it sounds buffoonish to me a little bit. When I just don't want the mic in their face, I guess. Maybe I don't want them to say anything but rap. Just rap and let me question. Like, I think I love that about Young Thug more than most things about Young Thug. That there really is no Young Thug outside of the artist. You don't ever really hear people like interviews or any of that other stuff with Young Thug. You never hear it. He's just that artist and whatever he is.
Let me tell you. Okay, so all right. So this is how I feel about those guys. I feel like they are characters. And personally, I still watch cartoons. So to me, these dudes aren't real life. I feel like back when Boosie and Lil Wayne, and you probably can name some other guys that I'm just not there. Juvenile, like, I don't know. Like, all of them guys that was, like, rapping about money, cars, clothes. I feel like they were actually, like, they were real people. Like, Lil Boosie was a real person to me in the struggle. You know, it's a worldwide struggle, you know? Like,
yeah.
I feel like the guys in our era, whenever we were coming up and, like, it was acceptable for us to, like, fully support and, like, wear, like, a Lil Boosie t-shirt. Like, whenever they were coming up, they were real people. Kodak Black, Lil Uzi Vert. And you know what? This probably comes with age. That I'm looking at these guys like they're youngsters. But they're not real. And it's almost like emo rap. Like, I don't really care if you cry. Like, all my friends are dead. Like, who even knows what that means? I don't know what that means. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what their music means. Like, I don't understand their music. All I know is that it sounds good.
And the kids like it.
And the kids like it, and it really, like, it sounds good. Like, it's great music. It bumps in the car. It's great beats. The music is well produced. And that's all I require from my music. I don't use music as a muse to, like, drown my emotions. I don't use music for that kind of stuff. Unless it's like some old school slow jams and, you know, of course I'm doing something. So if it's
just the character, like you're saying, then you're okay with that character being whatever type of real life human being. Because you're really only concerned with the character.
I hate, for me, that's what he is. I hate that these characters are so influential. Like, I know right now, if I went to UL. If I go on UL's campus, there's gonna be someone with purple dreadlocks. There's gonna be someone with red. Like, they're influential. These are the icons.
They influence the culture.
Right. It's not the same. It's not the same. You know, it's not the same how it used to be. The characters to me.
Well, when we were in school. And you would have like went to UL back in the day, or you would have went to Westgate or New Iberia Senior High. They would have been walking around with gold teeth, talking about bling bling with a Cash Money chain or a No Limit chain. And
I guess that was just as radical. Are you saying that? You can paint that to be just as radical. But I guess I'm going to be an old person for a second and say it's not the same. I didn't dye my hair purple. Like, to dye my hair purple, cool. Like, they stepped over the line. Like, they crossed a bridge. It's not the same.
And I understand what you're saying. I think we're just kind of having a little two different conversations in a sense. Because I do hear what you're saying. I'm just like you're having an adult moment. I think I was having an adult moment where I was like, is it okay to support little young rappers who are influential, quote unquote, who just kind of are like on some buffoon stuff? Like, is it okay to still support that because their music is dope? Like, because their music is dope, or should I be like a grown up in the room and say, you know what? Nah, talk about something. Nah, man, I can't. I'm not listening. I'm not gonna listen to that, man. I'm gonna listen to something that's got a better, or maybe not even a better message. Because I'm talking about Future. Like, I'm talking about going to listen to Future or going to listen to 2 Chainz that message ain't just great. But
oh no,
I just feel like
you and I, when you were here visiting me, you and I think it was you and I, watched that Future video that it might have been Mask Off.
When he was killing people and stuff.
Yeah, it just had them females out there killing people for him. Like, that's terrible. That's terrible.
That's a horrible video.
That video scarred my life.
It was bad.
So, yeah, nobody, there's rappers out there that have a good message, right? I mean, honestly, like, they're out there. Like I said, I don't use music. Music doesn't necessarily influence me, but here, let me make a point. You can't be a hypocrite because that's the music that they play in the places that we hang out.
Yeah.
So as long as we hanging out in those places, then that's the music. Then I think it's okay for us to support that. If we become polo vest, short, boat shoe type of adults, and we're still in our free time listening to that type of stuff, like if we're trying to like move forward or whatever you want to call it, be adulting, #adulting, and you're still trying to support that type of music, then there's a conflict of interest. But as far as if our habits are still in line with what them little young boys are talking about, then I don't see any reason with supporting them.
Okay, so then I guess that but I mean, there's such a dichotomy of like who you are whenever you want to be that. Like we're not always adulting. Like, you know, sometimes we look for an adultier adult to do adult things. You know what I'm referring to.
But what happens when you one day become your parents? Because your mama don't listen to Lil Uzi Vert.
But
your mama listens to Gerald Levert.
But your mama also listened to Marvin Cease. And Marvin Cease was the candy liquor. So my point is, like, they had their music that was kind of risque or different, and they probably was listening to Rick James and was like, Rick James don't appeal to me. He not the right type of person, and blah blah blah. Oh, that new stuff, that new Rick James, he ain't no Temptations. You know, I mean, it's possible. So I mean, we don't know how the evolution went because we wasn't there. We just live in the most recent.
To Rick? I guess, yeah, you know, it's to go back to parents, because we talked about this last time. Like, my parents are different. My parents are probably old enough to be your parents' parents. So my parents don't have those youthful moments where it's like, oh, let me listen to this Clarence Carter where he says, "Ooh, shit, Clarence Carter." Like, they don't do that. They're adults 99% of the time.
It doesn't make for adulting though.
But you know what's funny?
Music selection.
What's funny? Two things. 2 songs. I saw 2 different video memes, I guess is what you would call it. I don't know. 2 different videos.
Memes.
One of them was the Bruno Mars song, and it was like, this is what I'm gonna be telling my kids. You don't know nothing about this. And the dude was like doing the talk that stuff, now roll with it. I don't know what you call it, like the body roll.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're about to say.
Yeah. Okay. So like, one, that's a great song. Like, that's a lovely song, timeless song. But the other
Bruno
one
Mars is a timeless artist. Continue.
The other one was the Lil Uzi Vert song, I Don't Really Care If You Cry, or EXO Tour, whatever it's called. And it was like, we are going to be telling our kids about this song, and they're going to be talking about, you don't know what that is, you know, or you don't know nothing about this. And I'm thinking to myself, what will I listen to when I get old?
Yeah. You're going to listen to R&B, and you're going to listen to the artists. What you're going to be telling your kids, you don't know about this, is going to be more, I think, is going to be more like Chris Brown than, or Justin Bieber, or like that type of thing is going to come on, because it's going to come on more often. You're going to actually have to seek out Lil Uzi Vert.
What I want to tell you is, speak for yourself. That's what you're going to be listening to, Chris Brown?
Yeah, I think so.
R&B?
No, I mean, I just stuff, like, you made the point, and then you just lost the point that you made. The point that you were making was that when your parents are old, you're like riding on this. Your parents are old, so they're adults 99% of the time. So my point is that what comes on, your parents aren't listening to XY music because they're not seeking out that music. they're not going to be, I don't think they're going to be seeking out Lil Uzi Vert because I don't think he's timeless. Like, we're not seeking out every art cameo or every little artist who might have made a hit in the 80s. We're not. We're seeking out the ones who, like, we listen to Michael Jackson. We listen to the, like that's the music that gets played again and again on the radio and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, they got cuts here and there, but I don't know. I just I have this idea that the music that's going to be played. But I mean, damn, who knows what's going to be played? I don't even know if
and that's what I'm trying to tell you is, I get that. Like, that's a perfect point, beautiful point, something I didn't even think of. I probably at one point in time in my life will stop seeking out new music.
Mm-hmm.
So some of my favorite artists are from the early 2000s, and it was super shallow music, but it wasn't necessarily Lil Uzi Vert. But there was a time where, like, I feel like Ludacris, Nelly, etc., right? Not timeless artists. Those guys are not timeless artists. They had an era, and that's it. A very short era. I will always listen to that. I don't know if I'm going to listen to Lil Uzi Vert, but I know if on the radio, if on the oldie station, whenever we 50 and 60 years old, Lil Uzi Vert EXO Tour Life comes on, I'm going to be like, this is my jam. I forgot about this if it's not on my playlist.
Oh, yeah. If Stunting on My Ex Bitch come on, I'm jamming that thing at 58. What I'm saying?
So all I'm saying is I don't know. I don't know. I look forward to being that old, but I don't know what I'm going to listen to. But I do know that at 58, it would probably be pretty irresponsible for me to be listening to that with my kids in the car.
Hey, I hear you. Listen. What's crazy is I said we were gonna talk for half an hour. Y'all don't ever listen to yourselves when y'all over here talking. So no, we about to kill this podcast, but before we kill it,
Cavs Warriors, 100%.
Cavs Warriors.
I'm gonna go. Last year, my boss asked me, "What do you think is gonna happen?" My boss was a real big Cavs fan. What do you think is gonna happen? And I said Warriors in 4. That's what I said. You know what I think is gonna be forgotten in history? So, if we remember right, last year, the Warriors were up 3-1. Right?
What?
I don't think so either. But I think what's going to get forgotten in history is that the Thunder were up 3-1.
I don't think that's going to get forgotten in history.
People are going to... That's going to be forgotten. How? How were the Thunder up 3-1 with 2 MVP candidates on their team? That's gonna get forgotten in history. Yeah. And then the same team was up 3-1 the next series and lost. That's gonna be forgotten. That'll never. The only person that might say something that might bring that up is Max Kellerman. Somebody that's just like digs deep. And granted, Max Kellerman might not be the best, but that's the only person that'll ever bring that up. So, I just had to throw that. I walked away, but I just had to throw that out there. I'm gonna go again and say Warriors in 4.